Hey guys, and welcome to another recent viewing video, and today I'm talking about a movie called Maze Runner: The Scorch Trials, which is the sequel to the Maze Runner, a movie that came out, or that I watched anyway, and did a video for, I think sometime last year in 2015 or maybe late 2014. It was a movie based on a series of like teen reader books or whatever, along the same lines as Hunger Games and Divergent and all that. And I was a big fan of the first movie. I enjoyed it. I especially liked it at the end of it. It just sort of like blew open whatever concept you had about the movie and left you with shit ton of questions, which this movie, the sequel, kind of jumps right into and immediately throws the characters into, like not traumatic necessarily, but like an erratic, or I don't even know the word I'm trying to think of. It's just that it was like a hectic boom, right? Okay, movies just hit the ground running with the kids who had just been rescued from the facility they were in, where the maze, the Glades as it was called, and they'd just been like airlifted out of there, and the helicopter lands and soldiers come out and they're shooting these things that are coming through what looks like a desert, and everybody's running into the facility and getting locked, behind the doors. And it's just like, wow, okay, here we go. So the kids end up in this facility, and they believe that the people who have rescued them and have brought them there are taking care of them and that they're the good guys. But things almost immediately seem a little unusual for our main character, and I'm sad to say, right off the top of my head, I can't remember his name. I feel like it was Thomas. I guess I just have to look it up because I would feel stupid otherwise. Yeah, Thomas. Dylan O'Brien plays Thomas. Okay, sorry. Anyway, Thomas has his doubts. He gets helped by a kid who was already there, because there's already several kids who've been sort of saved by whatever this group is from Wicked, which is the group that everybody is trying to get away from. And now I realize I have to look this up too. I thought Wicked had kind of a... I thought that that acronym was pretty shit. Sorry, I'm now having to try to look up the first movie. The Maze Runner. Gosh, I don't even know if it's going to say in here. I'm just wasting time. Well, never mind. I don't know. It was something like World Cleansing Kill Zone Department or something. I thought it was pretty bad just to try to come up with something where you could say wicked. And wicked, of course, meaning evil or bad. Anyway, the kids believe that they've been saved from Wicked, but Thomas has his doubts. He sees some things that are going on, and he realizes that they're in a bad situation. It turns out that basically Wicked is the group that has just saved them from Wicked. Now, this is what some world backstory that I was able to pull out from this movie. This is like the Earth at some time in the near future. Maybe there's been a nuclear fallout or a nuclear war, but in addition to that, some sort of a virus called Blaze has been unleashed, and the predominant amount of population that was left over after this war or whatever, most of them are not immune, and they change into these things that reminded me a little of the fast and really voracious zombies from World War Z, but they also reminded me a little bit of the creatures from I Am Legend. And the last thing that I was reminded of were the infected characters, or the infected creatures from the video game The Last of Us. These things are nasty looking, almost kind of like zombies, but they move really, really fast. A lot of them were CG, and it was kind of evident. But I'll tell you what, for the most part, I didn't feel really that taken out of the immersion of the movie with CG in this when you do see it, which is more than can be said for a lot of movies these days that try to CG their humanoid-like creatures. So anyway, these kids, these immunes, there's something within their blood or whatever, some chemical within them that can either cure or at least stave off the infection from people who get infected. But it's not an enzyme or a compound or something that can be easily manufactured. It is something that really, according to the lore that they explained in the movie, it is something that can only be harvested from these people. So these kids get hooked up into these machines, and as was described in the movie, they're not alive, but they're not dead. They're kind of in some sort of stasis that's in between. And Thomas is like, we can't do that. We can't just be made into these fuel cells to keep those people who are alive and not infected, or who are infected, to keep them alive longer, and us sacrifice our lives for them. We are the youths, the future of the planet, what future that there is, so we're not going to do that. And he constantly leads the charge all throughout this movie to be free, to escape from wicked, and not to give up their lives like that, including him fighting for his female love interest, Teresa, who was introduced in the first movie. And in this movie, we also get a glimpse into the past of Thomas and Teresa. They worked for Wicked, or they were a part of the organization, only they couldn't stand to see all their friends and fellow young people being sent into these mazes and going through all that, and some of them dying. So Thomas basically blew the whistle on Wicked and had his memory erased. Teresa, because of her contact and relationship with Thomas, had the same thing done to her. Their memories were basically wiped out, and they were sent into a maze of their own. So during this movie, we find out that Thomas was the one who basically blew the whistle on it. I guess maybe I should have said that that's spoilers, but whatever. So it was an interesting plot twist to find out. I mean, I knew there was already mention that Thomas was probably involved with Wicked. Some of the kids knew that he was, but now we knew a little bit more about it. So anyway, the movie is basically Thomas and his group trying to get away from Wicked, trying to find a group called the Right Arm. That's like a stuff of legend or whatever, but they're a group that's actually protecting these kids and other people and fighting against Wicked. So the movie is a lot of time spent trying to pursue them and as well as survive, and they meet some characters along the way. And one of my favorite parts in this, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I really liked this movie a whole lot more than the first Maze Runner, and the first Maze Runner I really enjoyed. This one just stepped it up even more. And I also really have enjoyed this series more than like Hunger Games and Divergent. I mean, I haven't seen the second Divergent movie yet, so maybe it's not completely fair. But the difference for me between like Maze Runner and Hunger Games is I read all the Hunger Games books. I know what was happening. And then I'm watching the movies, which tend to be an inferior product when compared to their source material. But I haven't read the Maze Runner books. So I'm delighting in this newfound thing, or at least I'm confirming it, because I may have talked about this before. But I think it's better to watch the movies of something first and then go back and read the book. You enjoy the movies, you'll probably extremely enjoy the books. But if you really, really love a book and then you watch the movie and it's almost inevitably, a poor quality product, then it's like it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So right now I'm just enjoying the ride with this one. And the other thing I guess I was just getting ready to kind of start to say, in the movie, they run into some characters in the middle who kind of help them along the way to trying to find the right arm. And the leader of this group and this younger lady who's with him, I sensed a bit of a tease of a love interest for Thomas with this girl named Brenda. And I thought, oh, we're going to have some cheesy love triangle thing with these two ladies that are fighting over this one guy. But what was interesting, this is more of the spoiler alert material coming up here, because near the end of the movie, they've discovered who's left of the right arm anyway, and they've kind of convinced him that we got to do this stuff. And Teresa has used something to contact Wicked, because she believes that what they're doing, what they sacrifice of themselves, is for the greater good of everybody. She doesn't believe that they should fight against them and not help Wicked try to produce or help cure or at least assist people to live longer who have this Blaze virus raging within them. So she actually whistle blows back on Thomas and the rest of them, and Wicked comes along and just airstrikes the right arm encampment, killing a bunch of people, and then they all kind of get captured for a little while, but then Thomas is able to kind of break free. But Teresa goes with the people from Wicked, and one of the other runners from the Glade gets shot with some sort of electrical thing that incapacitates him but doesn't kill him, which leads Thomas to be like, well, I've got to save my friend. I can't let even one person fall into their clutches and not make an effort to save them. So he rallies everybody, and that's how the movie ends, is do you have a plan? And he's thinking, and it's going to roll into the third movie, which will be out in 2017. But I thought the love interest triangle got a whole lot spicier there, because Teresa has kind of betrayed Thomas, and Brenda is now kind of there. And I imagine there being something between those two. But then later on, does Teresa redeem herself? And where does Teresa and Thomas stand? And I sound like I'm getting all giddy over a teenage soap opera, but I liked that. Whenever I watch these movies, I really enjoy the love interests and the storylines of these characters and their personal relationships. At the same time as, hey, we got to save the world, or we got to go save our friends, or we have to, kill the bad guys. I like there being an extra dimension, and that was just, in my opinion, a really good way to, get around a boring love triangle. He's my man. No, he's my man. And he's just like, I don't know who I want to pick. So, anyway, stupid as that may be, that was just a highlight for me. And anyway, that's my thoughts on Scorch Trials. I'm really excited to see the third movie. Like I said, I think it's supposed to come out in February of 2017. So, and I can't wait to actually pick up and own Maze Runner and Scorch Trials movies. I don't have either one of those, but hopefully soon. And I would recommend this movie. I think it's just a really interesting take. It's an action movie, teen action movie, dystopian future thing that still, it still begs a lot of questions, and there were still a lot of mistakes in the movie, the continuity stuff, and the, just the, where I guess it's the suspension of disbelief stuff that I've allowed myself to fall into and be like, nah, that was a little, I didn't like that, when you're just supposed to kind of sit back and enjoy the movie and enjoy the ride. I enjoy the ride quite a bit with this one, but there were still a few things that popped up for me, but not enough to detract from it. Really good movie. I'm enjoying it, and that's about all I got to say, because I'm just rambling now. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.